On this episode of the Data Nerd Podcast. Kind of that song, that song from Savage Garden. I knew I loved you before I met you. It was kind of like I knew I liked data before
It
I
was
got
about
into it.
data the whole
It
time.
was about data the whole time. I'm your host, Nisar Ahmed. Join me as we explore the inner data nerd inside all of us. Dive into the world of data alongside special guests who not only share their wealth of experience and knowledge, but also unveil what truly makes them data nerds. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave a comment wherever you listen. And for all episodes, plus exclusive merch like the Data Nerd hat, head over to the datanerdpodcast.com. In this episode, I'm joined by Evan Wimpey, a data comedian who brings comedy to folks in data and analytics. So each band is players' productivity?
Yeah. It's the bottom one is like the catch-all for all other players, but the top six or seven are for like the seven best players on the
So I'm
team
gonna
that year.
guess. I'm gonna guess who the top is. Is it Freeman?
It is Freeman. Yeah, so I don't know how well you can see in the screen here,
I can't see the
but
words, but I can see the visual.
the top blue band is Ronald Acuna Jr. And so his
Yeah,
is like really fat early in the season, but then
yeah.
he gets hurt, so it like dips down to zero. Freeman is like the most consistent guy that year. He's the MVP for the Braves that year, for
He's
sure.
still great now, even on the
Yeah,
Dodgers.
but he's a Dodger now, so
I know.
it's not as interesting.
Listen, I'm not gonna get into that because I'm a Blue Jays fan, and
Oh my gosh.
I
I think
was
the whole
at
world was Blue
the
Jays
whole.
fans
I
back
know,
in October.
and I was at
Mhm.
the game 7.
You were at game seven?
Yeah,
Oh my God. I mean, that's exciting and great and all, but also sorry.
I know. Listen, um, it was history. Looking back, it was an all-time great game, right?
Oh yeah, it
Um,
really was.
and I took my 10-year-old son, who he's gonna remember that. Obviously, winning would have made it better, but
Um,
you know, this close, literally this close, like
yeah,
inches away.
footstep away.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But
As a baseball fan, it was just phenomenal to watch. It was great.
yeah.
Um,
But just being in the stadium, being part of the atmosphere. I mean, yeah, you know, after the game, it was like I just sat in my seat with my son. I was just like, I don't want to leave. I don't.
uh,
Well, actually, I
yeah.
mean, I'm from New York, so I actually flew to Toronto for that game. And then I was gonna fly back the next day. So I was just like, it was just one of those moments.
Uh,
But so you've been a Braves fan? Is it what made you a Braves fan?
yeah, I grew up in the Atlanta area, went to school,
Nice.
um, grade school, high school, in about an hour away from Atlanta. And then I went to Georgia Tech. And at the time, the Braves were like at the tail end of their 14-year division series run,
Yeah.
and so the Atlanta fans are notoriously like ambivalent during the regular season. And so when I was a Georgia Tech student, you could walk up game day and get, for a while there were $1 seats in one of the outfield section, and then by the time I graduated, it was $5 seats. But still, if you have to purchase same day, like within 3 hours of the game time, or you
Yeah.
just walk a couple miles to the stadium and go get super cheap seats is great.
Yeah, so I'm a Blue Jays fan now, but growing up I grew up in Montreal, so that I was an Expos fan, and they're no
Ah,
longer in existence. But
yeah,
Expos and Braves had a big rivalry, and
yeah.
I don't know if you remember that 1994 season, but
That's what I was gonna
that was
bring up.
supposed to be our year.
Oh,
They took over past the
uh,
Braves, and then I think you guys won the next year.
we did. Yeah, we won the World Series in '95. That '90, I'm convinced that the Braves did some voodoo magic to make the strike happen in '94 to keep the division streak alive. Dang, can't catch the Expos. Just
Uh,
cancel the rest of the season then.
uh,
Sorry.
what might have been, what if?
No.
Yeah. It's all good. That's all, you know what? That's all part of being a sports fan. You enjoy the good times because of the bad times you've gone through or just like
Yeah.
sticking through with the team. It makes it much more I'm not one of these bandwagon fans, like I don't see the
It's no
enjoyment.
fun to just,
There's
yeah,
no fun in it. You're always winning.
yeah. Although I will tell this short story. I'm not really a Duke fan. I'm wearing a Duke shirt. Duke. I
Yeah.
went to the Duke basketball game. It was my first time ever going to Cameron Indoor Stadium last night and watched Duke roll over Syracuse like 100-60 or something like that. And like
Nice.
I'm not a big college basketball guy, anyways, but to go
Yeah.
to Cameron Indoor and watch Duke, it was pretty fun. But it's very different than this is my team, and I've pulled for
Oh
them,
yeah.
and I've seen them go through all this. It's just
Yeah,
an
yeah, yeah.
exciting atmosphere. Don't
I,
care at all about the team.
I agree. I enjoy watching sports even when my team's not in it. Actually, I probably enjoy watching it more that way because when you're watching it when your team's in it, you're just stressed out.
Yeah, yeah. It's no stress watching the like me watching Game 7 last year was just so phenomenal as a baseball fan. This is no stress at all either. Well,
Yeah.
there's still a little
Well,
high
you're
stress,
not
high
rooting for the
tension moments.
Dodgers, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
No, that's great. No, thanks, Evan. Listen, always great to talk sports. I love talking sports, but I'd love to talk data as well. And
Yeah, yeah.
I know
Sports are
your
good.
sports are good. And you can tie sports into data. I've seen some of your posts where you talk. I think just yesterday you put a post on baseball statistics and college baseball, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I had a colleague, Dr. Chris Fonsbeck. He's great, does a lot of sports analytics, especially in the baseball world, but hockey as well. But
Oh
he
yeah.
wrote a great post about using Bayesian additive regression trees for modeling whiff percentage and just confer some of the advantages of the method, especially in like the low sample size space. But sports and data analytics are great because there's a lot of people that know sports. Um, you know, your 10-year-old kid went to the game with you
Yeah.
and he's going to know baseball.
Yeah.
And maybe one day he'll be into, maybe he's already into data. I don't know. But maybe one day he'll get into data. And sports is like such a natural vehicle for a lot of people to like get involved. And you start talking about, you know, Bayesian regression trees and it gets very complicated very
Yeah.
fast. But if you've got like the sports context already locked in, then
Yeah.
it makes the data and the modeling and the analytics way more accessible, I think.
That's my story. That's what made me a data nerd. I grew up collecting
Ah,
baseball cards and I would read the back of the cards and the statistics.
yeah.
I'd open a newspaper and go through, who are the league leaders. And I could even go back in time and you can give me a year and I could probably guess who the hit leader was that year, the highest batting average, just because it's a passion of mine, but it's also data and combination of the two is great.
Oh, awesome. Did that feed directly into like you have this love for the data in your
Uh,
baseball world and then like
I,
how you
yeah,
actually got into data?
I didn't think so at the time. Now looking back, it kind of makes sense. I think that's
Yeah.
I knew I loved data before I really knew kind of that song, that song from Savage Garden. I knew I loved you before I met you. It was kind of like I knew I liked data before
It
I
was
got
about
into it.
data the whole
It
time.
was about data the whole time. That was it.
Savage Garden, just a bunch of closet data scientists there.
Yeah. No, but listen, yeah, I'd love to talk about your experience, but I also know like you're a data professional, but you're also a data comedian, and I'd love to know like what got you into that. Like, how did it start?
Yeah. So the data part came first, the comedian part came second. There was a time in COVID, maybe you heard about it, flip the world
I've heard
upside
about
down.
COVID, yes.
Yeah, yeah. We're
It's been
trying to block
six
the internet.
years. It's been 6 years since it started.
Impossible. It's
Yeah,
been just yesterday.
I know.
Um, during COVID, or right at the start of COVID, I had colleagues at the company, the consulting firm I used to work at, who were going to present at a statistics conference, and the conference canceled and then started again and then canceled and then went virtual. And now it's seems totally normal to have a virtual conference, but
Yeah.
it beginning of 2020, it's like we can't, what's a virtual we can't do a virtual conference. And so in an effort to sort of make it fun and interesting, they did a call for papers and I'm not contributed enough to statistics to submit a paper. but they want to make it fun, so they did a call for like anything statistics in pop culture, if you wrote poetry, if you had artwork, anything that was sort of fun and interesting. And one of the things they said was jokes, statistics jokes. So I thought, oh, this is fun.
Mm.
I remember sitting at the playground watching my kids play and like trying to think of stats jokes. And I thought of some and I submitted some. And one of the ones that I submitted won first place. And that made they gave me a $50 prize, and that
Yeah.
technically made me a professional statistics comedian.
Yeah.
And so I'm just bragging about that to everybody I can all the time. And then I got to start telling more jokes and telling more jokes. At the time, I was working the consulting firm I was working for. The I would share that with clients, of course, and then I would present. We would work on some analytics project and say, "Aren't you tell stats jokes?" And say, "Yeah." So it ended up where instead of presenting this, you just tell a few stats jokes and then present all this stupid actual work that you did. And it got more and more jokes and less real data analytics. And so I'd say it's probably 50-50 now. Real day job doing real data analytics,
That's a
and
great
then telling jokes when I can.
that's a great icebreaker. I would love to hear data jokes rather than the small chat that happens in the beginning of the meetings trying to kill time.
I've I think most people share that sentiment. It is funny. I can't even think of who said it now. Maybe it's apocryphal, but a speaker, not a comedian, but just a public
Yeah.
speaker said never start a talk out with a joke, because if a joke bombs, if they don't laugh, then
Mm,
like that's it. You've lost the audience. It's no good. And that's I think sort of twofold. One, that's comedy is I present data science analytics stuff all the time, and
mm.
my heart rate is about here, and as soon as it's comedy time and it's still in jokes time, my heart oh, you can't even
Oh
see my
yeah.
hand, my heart rate is way higher, and I think I come across pretty calm on the stage, but man, there's something about just the telling the joke, the vulnerability, like I'm out here, please laugh.
100%. People fear public speaking, and I talk about that, and I have podcasts. My previous podcast is all about that. How to unmute yourself, how to become comfortable speaking. Um, Comedy is a whole nother level. Like if you fear public speaking, you need to have thick skin to be in comedy, right? Because
Yeah.
I'm sure, like, has it happened where you've told a joke and people are not laughing? Like, how does that make you feel?
Has it happened? Yes, it has happened. And I submit that anybody who has ever gotten on stage to tell jokes that says it's never happened is a liar.
Yeah.
Or they've just blocked out that memory, which would be nice to be able to do. Yeah, I've definitely, I've had the full range of audience, sort of reaction. I've had great audiences that are just dying at everything. I've had audiences where, uh, the guy in the front row is just staring at his phone and doesn't even look up at all, and
Yeah.
that's disheartening. That's tough to take. Um,
So were you
I
always
think
funny? Were you always funny outside in your personal life before you got into data comedy? Is that your
I like
personality?
to think so. Yeah, I like to
Okay.
think so. But I think it's tricky because there's a lot of folks who are funny in regular life, and I probably tell more jokes than I should. I try to be
Mm,
funny more than I should, and when I should
mm.
be serious. But there's plenty of folks that are funny, just like around the water cooler or chatting it up with
Yeah.
coworkers. But it's hard to translate that into like structure a comedy set and tell jokes when you're up there all by yourself. And there's some comedians that are not the funniest people, when you're sitting around the group, and there are a lot of like super extroverted, hilarious people that can't get up on stage and, do the solo act of telling jokes.
Yeah, it's a,
But
it's
to answer
it's
your question, I think so. I think I was. I think you have to be at least somewhat funny off stage just to have the confidence to like, oh, people are laughing. I'm able to make my friends laugh and these peers laugh, and so I feel better about hopping on stage to tell jokes.
feel like you need to have some level of creativity to be a comedian. It's a very creative art.
Yeah, yeah, it is. Um, yeah, I think finding the space to be creative, like to write the jokes, is is a really fun part of it. And you think, like in the world of data and analytics, you present to your stakeholders 5 minutes, here's a model and here's the results. And you think about all the time that went into the preparation, like the data cleaning, the entire whatever analytics, model
Mhm.
building process, validation, then like the slide deck or the visualization or whatever it takes. Like a lot goes into that 5 minutes where you're just
Mhm.
saying, here's what sales are doing and here's what we need to do to increase or meet our sales or whatever the KPI is. I think comedy really is the same. It's, you hear somebody tell a joke on stage and the amount of work that went into it, sort of the original
Yeah,
idea and crafting it, there were probably a lot of dead ends. But it's very much a creative process.
it is. And in the field, data storytelling is very important, right? And that's part of the communicating that message is telling the story with the data, not just presenting the numbers. I feel that data and comedy is probably a similar thing, right? It's storytelling, is it not?
It very, but wow, I'm gonna cut that clip out, that audio clip. You've phrased that really well. But yeah, I completely agree. And I think, you know, AI tools are helping make analytics and data more accessible for a lot of people to do a lot more. And I think that just really emphasizes the importance of the storytelling. Like the tools are there and are easier, but you've got to be able to connect with people. You've got to be able to tell the story that
Yeah.
you are trying to with whatever the data supports. And that, yeah, that's really comedy as well. It's connecting with people and making them feel something the way you're trying to get them to feel and react.
Yeah. So do you do this personally on the side, or do you actually incorporate I know you mentioned in some of the meetings they ask you to do some comedy,
Yeah.
but do you prepare your presentations with some comedic anecdotes built into the presentation?
Yeah, so when I first got into like writing stats jokes, it was less storytelling and it was more just like one-off joke, like that you could read in a joke book. I wrote a joke, but there's a joke book that just like standalone jokes,
Yeah.
and that is great for sort of a let's kick off this meeting with one joke, but it's not very good for stand-up comedy for being on stage to like entertain people. And so I'm in a less client-facing role now, so I don't do a lot of presenting analytics results.
Mm.
Um, so I don't have the opportunity to tell the jokes, but usually, I present at conferences sometimes. I still talk to plenty of clients. I don't usually go in with okay, the first 5 minutes are going to be comedy, and then the next 20 minutes are going to be data and analytics. It's usually just the personality comes out some, and by virtue of getting on stage and telling jokes, I'm more confident to sort of inject some humor and jokes. And actually, I encourage, and I've given talks at conferences where that's the takeaways, like encouraging people to use humor in a setting that is not here's a comedy set, but here's a conference talk, or here's presenting to stakeholders, or here's sharing results with your boss. It's just not forcing it if that's
Yeah.
not your style, but not shying away from being light and being silly and having some jokes and having some laughs.
Yeah, and I wouldn't say I'm not a comedian. I'm not at that level. But sometimes when I throw in a little like some comedic remarks in my presentation, and sometimes it's even just like making fun of yourself. Some is
Yeah. Oh yeah.
is
Yeah.
the best way to do that, right?
Self-deprecation. It's
Yeah, people always will
the
always laugh at that, right?
yeah. Yes.
So I think that works, and it makes it lighthearted and not as serious.
Yeah. I when I was a junior most data scientist, this was well before I ever was a professional comedian, but as a super junior data scientist, I did work for a client, and it was their supply chain, and I was
Mm.
presenting at their like monthly leadership meeting or whatever, and the supply chain leader wasn't there, and so just the overall CFO who ran the group was there, and I still presented the results, and he said, "Okay, Evan, I think that everything's good. I think this is right." But Matt, the supply chain VP. Matt's not here. If Matt were here, what would he say? And they said, well, Matt would say, great job, Evan. You deserve a raise. And it got last, it's a bunch of C-suite people, and I'm this
Yeah.
junior little. trying to wear a tie and fit in at the big boy table. But it loosened them up. They got a laugh out of it, and then try to give a serious answer. But
That
injecting some humor is usually appreciated.
that's like a and that's like a I would classify that as like a data dad joke, right?
Yeah, that you could probably classify every joke I've ever told as a data dad joke.
And listen, let's hear a set. You want to give us a
All right,
set?
yeah. Let's do a little set and you let the listeners judge if I'm always funny or if I sometimes bomb.
Sounds
Um,
good.
First, if we're on video here, this mic, it's not turned on, there's no batteries, not connected to anything. But sometimes, I just want to make sure the AI classifiers classify me as a comedian, so I use the handheld mic here. But my name's Evan Wimpey, and I am a data comedian. And for a lot of people, that's actually really hard to believe, but it's very true. My name really is Evan Wimpey. It's not a stage name, and Wimpey is it's tough, but I've learned to just when I say it, I just always flex a little bit, so people don't get any ideas. It's just a name, but people don't get ideas. They're pretty nice. They didn't used to be nice. Elementary school was really tough with a name like Wimpy, but I did make it through school, which is was better. I had there's this guy I know, and he couldn't even make it into school because of his name. It was brutal. Every time his parents would register him, they would just kick him out. His name was Bob Null, and the elementary schools have strict data governance policies, and they would just strip him out every time his parents would register. I don't know what happens to a guy. He can't even get into elementary school. And Bob Knoll, he must have had a tough life. I actually thought of him the other day. I just tried to research him. I couldn't find anything about him. Said database cannot be indexed by null value. So poor guy. Wimpy doesn't seem so bad in comparison. But I am a data comedian. It's what I do. I've not always been in data comedy. I started out as an economist, and for a little while, I thought I might go into economics comedy, but there's no demand. So I used to subscribe to this magazine. It's called Harvard Business Review. Still around. I used to subscribe to it as an economist. Now I'm a comedian, so I don't anymore because I can't afford it. But back as an economist, I read that data science is the sexiest job of the 21st century. It's a famous article. Probably a lot of the listeners, watchers read that article. That's what got you into data. I was an economist, so I thought this would be really good for me. Economist was voted the least sexy job of the last 7 or 8 centuries in a row. Ever since the Knights at the Round Table, the one of them invented downward sloping demand. It's been a downward sloping demand for economists ever since. So I did it. I went back to school, studied advanced analytics, and I became a data scientist. And I did not get any sexier at all. So I'm boycotting the Harvard Business Review now, full of lies, a fake news publication. But I loved doing data science. As a data scientist, and I really was really, really bad at it. I was a terrible data scientist. And this was back before AI, so I actually had to like do the data science, build models. And I was really bad. I would build these models that I thought were pretty good. I would show my colleagues. I would say, check out this model I did. And this is, I could just fit them on my hand. My models were very simple. Say, check out this model I built. Say, what is this, a joke? And so now here I am. And data comedy is where I am. Uh, Not all of my models were bad. I built there's exactly one model I built that was good. It was a banger. It was a really good model. It was one of the first models that I ever built. Well, it was not the first. The first model I ever built was, dear listener, it was the same as the first model that you built. It was who will survive the Titanic. It's the first model that every data scientist builds. And I don't really get why we're still building that mod. It's 2026. The crash happened over 25 years ago. Do we really need to keep trying to crack this nut? But I get it. I guess, we want to bring closure to the families of the Titanic passengers. So, maybe someday somebody will figure it out. But my Titanic model was no good. It just went up in flames, just like the ship. But the model I built that was really good was a stock picking model. Maybe it's my economics background, maybe, but I was really good. I built a model that for any individual stock that's traded on the S&P 500, I could predict with 90% accuracy whether it would go up or down the next day. That's, I mean, that's like it's like a money printing machine. And I used this model for a while. This model was really good. And we talk about AI now, and fancy architectures, big LLMs. My model is super simple, super. So it only had three features, and with three features, that's all I needed, and it was 90% accurate, knowing whether it would go up or down the next day. And that's it's I don't know if it would still work now, so I'll just tell you the features. It was the only things you needed were the stock's price yesterday, and the stock's price today, and the stock's price tomorrow. And that's it. Simple feature. With that, I used all my advanced analytics training and tooling, my mathematical prowess, built this model, and it's only forgetting 10% of tomorrow's stock prices. Oh, that was pretty good. That was this one I was proud of. I showed my colleagues, said, hey, check out this model that I built. He said, Evan, that's a leak from the future, which means I'm like super advanced, ahead of my time from the future. It was good. I used that. I traded that model for 10, 12 months. Now I'm a comedian. Huh. Uh, I I tell you, Sar, and listeners, I tell you that I was a bad data scientist.
Hmm.
I will be forthright here. I did not become a good data scientist. I was a bad data scientist. I'm not a data scientist anymore. I used to work for this consulting firm. I was such a bad data scientist that I got promoted to director. It's tough. But I wanted I want to defend the data science industry as a whole, because a lot of people say data scientists have bad software engineering principles. It's like there's no documentation, no tests, you're deploying notebooks. But I was a terrible data scientist, and I got promoted to director. And that's straight out of the engineering playbook. That's software engineering 101. If you're bad at your job, you can stop touching the code, stop making commits, and just get promoted to director. And so that's where I sit now. Director is lets me there's no real work to do, so it affords me a lot more time to just come on podcast and tell some jokes.
That was great, Evan. I that last part about director and not knowing data science really cracked a smile here. Um,
I gotta say, I've told that joke on stage for data science teams, and I noticed that the individual contributors always laugh at that.
yeah.
The directors and seniors don't always laugh. Sometimes they look. I think sometimes folks feel personally attacked with that one.
But
That's okay.
listen, you can say it because you're a director.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It works.
It works.
Self-deprecation. Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, that's a funny part of comedy is there's, whenever, especially I do a lot of like corporate events and like team shows where, the worst thing that can happen at a comedy show that I do is not the audience doesn't laugh at all. It's that somebody goes to HR afterwards and says, "Hey, we brought this guy into our team, to our organization, and said
Mm.
something. He attacked these people, or he marginalized these people, or so." It's try to be very sensitive to
Yeah,
that.
that's the thing in corporate culture. You got to be a little
Yeah,
careful, right? Because HR will be all over you depending on what you say.
yeah, yes, for sure. And that, like, I don't, maybe not never, but I almost never play like public, non-data, non-analytics comedy
Mm,
sets.
mm,
I'm almost always at a conference or a school or but a team that is data science. And so it's got to be clean. It's got to
yeah.
be absolutely no politics, no religion,
Mm,
no bad mouthing people.
yeah.
Which is, if you're a fan of comedy, you probably watch comedians that talk about politics and use profanity, and
Yeah.
is very different in the corporate comedy scene.
Very different. Yeah. Have you ever gotten so many restrictions that you didn't know what to even talk about or say in your set?
No, because most of the stuff that I write is corporate friendly
Yeah.
already. Um, and the folks that have reached out to me to play sort of know what, there's examples online, um, website or YouTube channel, and so they get a good idea. And I'm not like towing the line. I'll usually have a pre-call with some of the people to see like, are there any topics that are off limits? Like, don't
Yeah.
talk about this. And there's usually a few things that are sensitive, but they're like, we just migrated to Snowflake and the costs are too high and it made us have to do this. I'm like, just don't talk about the cost of Snowflake. It's one
Yeah.
silly example. It's sometimes things like that that are like sensitive subjects for a team.
So I know, and your content plays to the audience because, for example, the joke you told about null, right?
Yeah, yeah.
People would not understand that if they don't know what null means,
Oh, yeah.
right? So
I've I will sometimes, like sometimes, very rarely, but I've played a few open mics just for like general audiences,
yeah,
and I do it just to like practice my timing on stage, and uh, it usually comes across like the audience, like, what the hell is this guy talking about? What in the world is a model? What is a null value?
yeah,
But that's okay. I'm not telling jokes to the
yeah.
non-data crowd.
Yeah. I mean, this is your niche, right? So
Yeah.
that.
I,
Um,
I joke I'm not funny enough to be a real comedian, and I'm not good enough of a data scientist to be a real data scientist, but that's okay. I've got enough overlap in the Venn diagram that I'll just be the data comedian.
listen, everyone's got to find their niche, right? Like, not everybody. Um, Sometimes when you look at what you're good at, you're like, I'm not the best at this or best at that, but it's the combination of a few things that make you really unique and good. And I'm going outside of comedy here. I'm just saying, as a
For
professional,
sure.
right? So we talk about data storytelling. Somebody maybe is not the best data analyst, and maybe they're not the best, you know, storyteller, or but they're good enough at both, or combining them together makes them really good at data storytelling.
Oh, man, I think that is more true than ever before. And like I think to my back, like there's no LinkedIn job posting for data comedian. You just sort of find
Yeah,
your own niche. And with how accessible so many data tools are now. Like you can learn whatever you want to learn for free if you just want to dedicate the time to it. So if you find the place where you're interested, we talked about sports at the beginning. If you're
yeah,
interested in sports and you're interested in geospatial data, like there's something for you there. And being able to carve out the niche that you want I think, is easier to do, and it's probably going to get more and more important to do, as the the less niche things, the more like generalizable tasks get automated, or get
yeah,
so ubiquitous that anybody can do them. Like it's going to be more and more important to find your niche, the place where your interests lie and your talents lie,
yeah.
that's what you can fill.
It's a good call out because now, especially with, I need to, you touched on this with AI, right? In your comedy set as well, right? As AI advances, you kind of have to focus in on like, okay, what am I? You got to ask yourself, what am I good at, and
Yeah.
how do I make sure
Yeah,
that like I'm the person that people need when it comes to this line of work or this topic, right?
for sure, for sure.
How has AI changed, or not changed? How does AI impact your data comedy? Do you use AI to come up with some content, or is it all? I don't want to. I don't want to. I don't want to blow your cover here, right? But
I've never
you
written a single joke, and so I just asked ChatGPT. No, that's a great question, and honestly, my answer today is probably different than it would have been 3 years ago when I first started getting on stage.
Hmm,
Um, I'll say two things. One is, that there's the entrepreneur aspect, and I don't know the first thing. I don't know the third thing about running a business. So my comedy AI agent helps me do outreach to conferences or organizations, helps me put
hmm,
together invoices, review legal documents, sort of like the admin of running the comedy side business. But then we talked about it a bit. that it's really a creative process. And so ChatGPT, Gemini, whatever, has never written me a joke that I thought was funny or that I could use, but it has helped me go from a seed idea to here's 50 things that are associated this and similar to this. So if I'm telling a
Yeah.
story, say, oh yeah, I could pick out this one. I could riff on this a little bit. Um, I try to use it to add like punches. Like if I've got a story, like I got a story about the model that I built that had the leak from the future,
Hmm.
and I tell the joke and I said, help me add some punchlines there. It's not good at writing a punchline, but it is good to help sort of. It's not good at narrowing down, but it's really good at expanding out. So, hey, here's the thing. Give me 50 things that are associated with this, and 48 of them are probably throwaway, but two are like, okay, I can pull on this string a little bit. Okay, maybe the first model that people build. Okay, that's like the Titanic. I can try to write some jokes there. So it's helpful in the creative process. Um, and I think, I probably like everybody else, I worry that one day all it's going to take is a clever prompt into Claude, and here comes jokes that are way better than jokes that I can write. But the the saving grace there in comedy is it's very much a human element. It's
Yeah.
storytelling, it's connecting with people.
Yeah.
So even if it's writing jokes like from scratch and putting together tight punchlines that work really well. Somebody's gotta tell the jokes,
Yeah.
and
The delivery is just as important.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's a great point. And when I look at ChatGPT, I'm opening up the models there. I don't see a comedic model in there. So I think you're safe with AI not replacing you as a data comedian with your job
not yet,
security.
not yet.
Not yet. Yeah, who knows?
That's I've joked before that comedian will be the last human job. Like that's why I got into comedies because that's the last human job. Everything else gonna get AI'd away, but comedy will be the last one.
Hey, listen, as long as we can laugh through life, that's all we need.
Yes, yeah. We'll need to laugh. When AI takes over everything else, it's people are
Then
gonna
it's over. Yeah, yeah.
laugh.
But okay, let me ask you this. Do you find in general data professionals usually come off as being very serious, right?
Yeah,
Um, uh, were you surprised with the way that people um, respond to your comedy and are like that's the data professionals?
yeah. That's a great point, and I think like the pent up sort of overly seriousness of data and engineering
Yeah.
is like people are craving some comedy, some loosening, like make fun of the subject, point out the funny stuff. I was in grad school to study analytics. The part set is mostly true and exaggerated in pieces. But I distinctly remember the first presentation that I gave as a student in the master's program, and we got feedback from the faculty afterwards. And Dr. Shana Race gave feedback. She probably doesn't remember this at all.
Mm.
Uh, she said it was technically good. Everything you said was right and makes sense, but it was just really boring presentation. And like that cut so deep. I would rather have been like, your math is all wrong. You used the wrong data set. You were
Yeah.
whatever trained on your test set, but like a boring presentation. Oh my god, Dr. Race, that will never be your complaint about one of my presentations again. So I don't know how much that single comment fueled getting into comedy, but I do think like generally
That's your origin
that's the
story,
way.
right?
Yeah, I think that's probably a common thread in data science, like a stuffy. Here's what we're going to present, and so if we can loosen it up, tease some comedy out of it, make things entertaining as well as
But
insightful.
listen, if if she didn't say that to you, would you be where you are now?
That's I don't know that I've ever contemplated that question until
Because because here's what happens. when somebody gives you criticism like that, some people will just like be like they'll lose their confidence and they'll be
Yeah.
demotivated and be like, I give up. But if you use that to fuel your growth and improve and say, you know what, like she's telling me this, I, I don't know who she is, okay? But if I were to guess, the reasons why she told you that is because she wanted you to be better. And sometimes being honest with people um, is the best way to create that change.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And that sure resonated with me. You know, counterfactuals are tough. Causal modeling is tough. I do a lot of that in the day job. Um, so it's hard to know like would I be here? But that was definitely a spark to I gotta get some life in the way we talk about data and analytics. They're gonna be entertaining.
Yeah, I mean, we could do a whole episode here on communication and the importance of that. Yeah, because like to be honest, a lot of data professionals don't get the training in that. You learn it
Oh
on the
yeah, most
job for the
definitely.
most part. Even on the job, it's hard. Like, how do you learn it? Like it's. I don't think there's really there are trainings on communication and best practices and whatnot, but I don't know if data professionals usually, mm, uh, you know, put much importance in that.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely agree. Very uh deprioritized part of the job. Um yeah, I think so. PyMC Labs is the consulting firm that I work for now.
Mhm.
And when we look for researchers and scientists, you know, obviously like looking for the technical skill set, you got to be very technical capable. But then like one of the first questions we think about and ask like, can this person go in front of a client? Can this person like present
Mhm.
results to a non-technical audience? And like that's huge. You've got to be able to do that, or it doesn't matter sort of what type of analytics you're able to muster up.
Yeah, and I know you poked fun at the director promotion, but in all honesty, if you want to get promoted, having the ability to communicate well will get you there.
100%, 100%, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's why I gotta host a podcast or come onto podcast as a guest and talk to people. This is communication.
It is. It is. No, Evan, this has been great. How can people, if people want to reach out to you or maybe want to hire you for data comedy, what's the best way to get in touch?
So everything's out of the website, predictablejokes.com. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. You can give me a follow on there.
Mhm.
But if you want to learn more, find some old comedy clips, listen to some other jokes, predictablejokes.com is the place to be.
Awesome, great. I'll include that all here in the show notes. It's been a great conversation, Evan. Good luck with the Braves.
Thanks.
And hopefully my Blue Jays win. And I think we both agree we just don't want the Dodgers to win this year, right?
Fair. I tell you what, I'm adopting the Blue Jays. I'm an ECU baseball fan as well.
Mhm.
Trey Savage
Oh,
just
he's
made the
great.
college ranks for a couple of years, so I'm following him very closely this year.
I'm gonna get his jersey. I'm a fan.
Oh boy, I should have worn I just got a Trey Savage
You
ECU
did.
jersey. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's hard to find a college jersey. Boy, we're going way off script now. Uh, But what like all the Chinese wholesalers you can order, I
Yeah.
ordered it like 3 months ago for $15 and then just hopefully it arrives and then tag it.
Hopefully it
And
arrives. And
yeah,
hopefully it's
it
spelled
arrived.
correctly and there's no
Yeah. It's the colors are maybe not a perfect match, but they're very, very close. It looks like an East Carolina Pirates jersey. So it's good.
Yeah,
I'll take it.
that's awesome.
Nisar, thanks so much for having me on the show. Love what you're doing here. Love the show. I appreciate you giving me a chance to come on and chat with you.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Evan.
If you enjoyed this episode, subscribe and leave a rating or review. It really helps more data nerds discover the show. You can find all episodes, plus exclusive merch like the Data Nerd hat, and more at thedatanerdpodcast.com. Until next time, stay curious, keep learning, and embrace your inner data nerd.